The rain hammered down on the cracked sidewalk like God's own judgment, and I slammed the car door so hard it echoed off the brick walls of the old Seattle warehouse. My twin brother Jackson's voice cracked through the phone, raw and broken. "Liam, don't do this, marry me instead. Please, I can't lose you to him." But it was too late. Henry was already waiting inside that dimly lit coffee shop, his hands fidgeting with the hem of his apron, oblivious to the storm about to shatter us all. I burst through the door, water dripping from my soaked jacket, and there he was, Henry, with his quiet smile and those eyes that saw too much without saying a word. The scent of fresh ground beans and cinnamon hung heavy in the air, a false comfort against the lie I just uttered to Jackson. I choose him. But as Henry's gaze met mine, steady and unblinking, I wondered if he knew the secret that had bound me to my brother since we were kids, the forbidden pull that no amount of therapy or distance could sever. That night, as we exchanged vows in a hasty ceremony at the courthouse down the block, Jackson's text lit up my phone one last time. "You're making a mistake. He's not who you think." I deleted it, slipping the ring onto Henry's finger, convinced love could be rewritten. But deep down, in the pit of my stomach, I felt the first crack in the foundation, the truth Henry was burying, the one that would drag us all into the abyss. The fluorescent lights of the courthouse buzzed overhead like angry hornets, casting harsh shadows on the scuffed linoleum floor. It was a Tuesday in late October, the kind of gray Seattle day that seeped into your bones and made you question every impulsive decision. Henry stood beside me, his fingers twisting the simple gold band I'd bought on a whim from a pawn shop in Pioneer Square. He wasn't one for crowds or small talk, but here we were, in front of a bored officiant named Carla, who droned through the vows like she was reading a grocery list. "Do you, Liam Harper, take Henry Ellis to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Carla asked, her voice flat as the overcast sky outside. I swallowed hard, glancing at Henry. His dark hair was neatly combed for once, falling just over his forehead in that boyish way that made him look younger than his 28 years. Those hazel eyes, framed by lashes that caught the light like dew on ferns, locked onto mine with an intensity that bordered on unnerving. Autism had wired him differently. Patterns and routines were his anchors in a world of chaos, but in moments like this, it felt like he was peering straight into the fractured core of me. "I do," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The words hung there, heavy with the weight of what they erased. Years of stolen glances with Jackson. Our twin bond twisted into something darker, more desperate. We'd shared everything growing up: clothes, secrets, even the narrow twin bed in our childhood room in Tacoma. But Jackson had always been the golden one, straight as an arrow, chasing cheerleaders and college football dreams, while I hid in the shadows, loving him from afar. Last summer, after his engagement to Sarah fell apart, that distance crumbled. One drunken night at our family cabin on Hood Canal, his lips had brushed mine, not in pity, but in hunger. It was the spark that ignited the fire, but also the one that threatened to burn us both. Henry slid the ring onto my finger, his touch cool and precise, like he was assembling one of his intricate coffee pour-overs. "I do," he murmured, so soft I almost missed it over the hum of the AC. Carla pronounced us married, and just like that, we were bound. No rice, no cake, just a crumpled marriage certificate and the promise of takeout from the Thai place around the corner. We walked out into the drizzle, my arm around Henry's waist, feeling the unfamiliar solidity of him against me. The coffee shop, been there, done that, was only a 10-minute drive away. tucked into the artsy stretch of Capitol Hill where rainbow flags fluttered from every lamppost like defiant prayers. Henry had bought the place 2 years ago with a small inheritance from his aunt, turning it into a haven for misfits. Mismatched chairs, walls lined with local artists' graffiti-style murals, and a playlist that swung from Billie Holiday to Bad Bunny without apology. "Why the rush?" Henry asked as we buckled into my beat-up Subaru, his voice even, but his fingers drumming a staccato rhythm on his knee, a telltale sign of the anxiety bubbling beneath his calm exterior. I hesitated, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles whitened. The truth? Because Jackson's confession had ripped me open, and I needed something, anything, to stitch the wound. Henry had been my quiet constant for months. The barista who remembered my order, black coffee, 2 sugars, no foam, without writing it down, who slipped me free scones on rough days, who listened without judgment when I rambled about my dead-end job as a graphic designer for a failing indie label. Our first date had been accidental, a spilled latte leading to an awkward cleanup, then hours talking about everything from quantum physics, his obsession, to the indie bands I scouted. He'd kissed me that night under the shop's awning, tentative and sweet, like he was testing the waters of a new routine. "Life's too short," I said finally, starting the engine. "And you make sense, Henry. In a world that doesn't." He nodded, staring out at the rain-smeared windshield, his reflection ghostly in the glass. "Patterns. Marriage is a pattern. Good one, I hope." We pulled up to the shop just as the evening rush hit, hipsters in flannel, tech bros nursing laptops, a gaggle of drag queens fresh from a rehearsal at the nearby theater. Henry flipped the closed sign to open with ritual precision, then disappeared into the back to brew the evening special, a lavender-infused cold brew that tasted like summer regret. I hung my jacket on the hook by the door, inhaling the familiar aroma that always grounded me. Roasted beans, steamed milk, the faint tang of citrus from the syrups. The bell jingled, and in walked Marla, Henry's part-time barista and self-appointed den mother. She was a 50-something firecracker with a sleeve of tattoos and a voice like gravel soaked in whiskey. "Well, hot damn," she crowed, spotting the rings. "You two eloped? Without inviting the queen of sass?" "Spill." Henry emerged from the back, cheeks flushing pink, but he managed a small smile. "Liam and I got married today," Marla whooped, pulling us both into a bear hug that smelled of patchouli and cigarette smoke. "About time. This boy's been mooning over you since day one. Liam said you had symmetrical energy or some nerd shit." She ruffled Henry's hair, and he didn't flinch. Progress in his world of sensory overloads. As the night wore on, the shop filled with congratulations and free shots of espresso. I worked the register, bantering with customers, while Henry orchestrated the chaos from behind the espresso machine like a conductor in his element. Felt normal, almost idyllic, the kind of life I'd glimpsed in those rom-coms we binge-watched on lazy Sundays. But every time my phone buzzed with a text from Jackson, "We need to talk." This isn't over. The illusion cracked a little more. By closing time, the rain had eased to a misty haze, and Henry locked the door with a satisfied click. He turned to me, leaning against the counter, his apron dusted with flour from the muffins he'd baked that morning. "Home?" he asked, the word tentative, like he was still adjusting to the idea of us. Our home was the tiny apartment above the shop, a one-bedroom with creaky floors and a view of the alley cats fighting over garbage. We'd been crashing there together for a month, ever since I sublet my old place in Belltown. It was sparse, A queen bed piled with mismatched pillows, bookshelves groaning under Henry's sci-fi tomes and my vinyl collection, a kitchenette where we'd experiment with midnight pancakes. Yeah, I said, pulling him close. His body relaxed into mine, familiar now, like the curve of a well-worn mug. We climbed the stairs in silence, the weight of the day settling like fog. In the bedroom, he undressed methodically, shirt first, then jeans, folding each piece with geometric precision. I watched, heart swelling with a tenderness I hadn't expected. Henry wasn't effusive with words or grand gestures. His love came in routines, in the way he'd leave my favorite mug by the sink, clean and ready. We made love slowly, the city sounds filtering through the cracked window, distant sirens, laughter from the bar below, the patter of residual rain. His touches were deliberate, mapping my skin like he was committing it to memory. Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of him, clean soap and faint vanilla from the shop, we lay there, his head on my chest. "You're thinking loud," he whispered, tracing circles on my arm. I chuckled, but it came out strained. "Just processing. This is real now." He lifted his head, eyes searching mine. "Real is good, but change is hard. For me." I kissed his forehead, shoving Jackson's ghost to the back of my mind. "We'll figure it out. Together." But as sleep claimed him, his breathing even and deep, my phone glowed on the nightstand. Another message from Jackson. He knows, Liam, about us. And he's using it. My blood ran cold. What the hell did that mean? I deleted it, rolling over to spoon Henry closer. Lies had no place here. Not yet. The next morning dawned with the kind of crisp autumn clarity that made Seattle feel alive. Leaves turning gold and crimson along Broadway, the Space Needle piercing the sky like a silver promise. Henry was up before the alarm, already in the kitchen brewing coffee with the precision of a scientist. I shuffled in, rubbing sleep from my eyes, and he handed me a mug without a word. Black, 2 sugars, steam curling like a lover's breath. "Breakfast?" he asked, gesturing to the toaster where bagels were browning to perfection. I nodded, sliding into a stool at the counter. "You're spoiling me already, Mr. Harper Ellis." He paused, a flicker of something, amusement, uncertainty, crossing his face. "Ellis Harper. Alphabetical. Fair." We ate in companionable silence, the radio humming low with NPR's morning show. Stories of tech layoffs in Silicon Valley, protests in D.C. over queer rights, the usual American symphony of hope and heartbreak. Henry absorbed it all, his mind a sponge for facts, but he rarely commented unless prompted. That's what I loved about him, no pressure to fill the voids with chatter. After breakfast, we descended to the shop, flipping the sign at 7 a.m. sharp. The morning crowd trickled in, joggers in neon, freelancers with bedhead, the elderly couple from the corner who always ordered the same. Decaf for her, full CAF for him, with a side of flirtation. Henry moved like clockwork, grinding beans, tamping grounds, pulling shots with a flourish that bordered on artistry. I helped where I could, wiping counters, restocking pastries, but my mind wandered to Jackson. Our twin connection had always been visceral, finishing sentences, feeling each other's moods across rooms. Last night, I'd sensed his rage like a storm front rolling in from the sound. He was crashing at our parents' place in Tacoma, nursing his wounds after calling off his wedding. Sarah had found out about us, or at least suspected, and bolted. Jackson blamed me, but deep down, we both knew it was inevitable. Twins don't share DNA, they share souls. By noon, the shop was buzzing. Marla arrived for her shift, regaling us with tales of last night's open mic. This queen did a lip sync to WAP that had the whole bar dripping, literally. Henry smiled faintly, but I caught him glancing at me, as if gauging my reaction. We talked about his past. Awkward hookups in college that ended in meltdowns. The therapist who called him high-functioning like it was a compliment. Sex with him was patient, exploratory. He needed cues, scripts almost, but once in rhythm, it was electric. "Liam," he said during a lull, his voice low as he wiped the steamer wand. "Last night." "Good." I leaned over the counter, stealing a kiss that tasted of espresso grounds. "Better than good." "Epic." His flush returned, but he held my gaze. "Epic. Like Dune. Or Interstellar." I laughed, the sound easing the knot in my chest. "Nerd." The door chimed, and my laughter died. Jackson stood there, drenched from the sudden downpour outside, his green eyes mirror images of mine, stormy with unspoken fury. He was broader than me, built from years of pickup basketball and gym sessions, his blonde hair plastered to his forehead. The shop fell quiet, customers sensing the tension like animals before an earthquake. "Liam," he said, voice tight, ignoring Henry entirely. "We need to talk. Now." Henry stiffened beside me, his hand gripping the edge of the counter until his knuckles paled. "Jackson." "Coffee?" Jackson's glare could have curdled milk. "Not here. Outside." I wiped my hands on my apron, heart pounding. 5 minutes. Henry. "Cover for me?" He nodded, but his eyes, those perceptive, pattern-seeing eyes, flicked between us, piecing together fragments I thought I'd buried deep. "Be safe." Outside, the rain lashed the awning, turning the street into a river. Jackson rounded on me, grabbing my arm hard enough to bruise. "What the fuck? Liam? You marry him? The barista? After everything? Keep your voice down." I hissed, yanking free. "It's done. We're married." He laughed, bitter and hollow. "Married? To cover for what? Us? You think I don't feel it? That pull? I told you I love you. Really love you. Not as a brother." The words hung there, forbidden fruit I'd craved for years. Under the stars, he'd confessed it all. The jealousy of my dates, the dreams where we weren't blood. I'd reciprocated, our kiss sealing a pact we'd never keep. But reality crashed in, family, society, the American dream of normalcy. Marrying Henry was my escape hatch. "It's wrong, Jack. We can't." Breath warm against my cheek. "He's using you." "Did he tell you about the money? The deal he made with Mom and Dad?" My stomach dropped. "What deal?" Jackson's eyes narrowed. "They paid him to straighten you out, make you respectable. He's not in love, Liam. He's a goddamn employee in this farce." The rain picked up, drumming like accusations. I shoved him back, chest heaving. "Lies. You're just hurt." "Am I?" He pulled out his phone, thrusting it at me. A screenshot of an email from our mother to Henry. "We'll wire the funds once the papers are signed. Just keep him away from Jackson. For his own good." Nausea roiled. Couldn't be true. Henry, with his quiet affections, his routines built around me, but Jackson's face, my face, twisted in pain, held no deceit. "Go inside," I muttered, turning away. "This changes nothing. It changes everything," he shouted. But I was already pushing through the door, the bell jingling like a death knell. Henry looked up from the register, his expression unreadable. "Okay, yeah, I lied," forcing a smile. "Family drama. Nothing new," he nodded, but as he handed a customer their change, I saw it, the slight tremor in his hand, the way his eyes avoided mine. The truth was there, hiding in plain sight, and I'd been too blind to see. The rest of the afternoon blurred into a haze of steam and small talk, the espresso machine hissing like it was mocking my unraveling composure. Customers came and went, a yoga instructor ordering a matcha latte, a couple arguing in whispers over a shared scone, but I barely registered them. My mind replayed Jackson's words on loop. "He's using you." The deal. Mom and Dad had always been pillars of Midwest transplanted propriety. Dad with his accounting firm in Tacoma, Mom chairing the PDA like it was her personal crusade. They'd shipped us off to the same high school, same college, UW. Go Dogs. Always whispering about fixing my phase. But paying Henry? That was a new low, a betrayal wrapped in concern. Henry worked beside me, his movements a ballet of efficiency, measuring grounds with a digital scale, tilting the portafilter just so. He didn't ask about Jackson again, but I felt his awareness, like a radar pinging silent signals. Around 4, Marla clocked in early, sensing the vibe. "Trouble in paradise already, boys?" she teased, but her eyes were sharp, scanning for cracks. "Just twin stuff," I said, forcing a grin as I frothed milk for a cappuccino. "You know how it is," she snorted, tying her apron. "Twins? Honey, I've got a mirror, doubles the drama." She bumped Henry's shoulder playfully. "You good? Specs." Henry adjusted his glasses, thin wireframes he only wore for close work, and nodded. "Patterns disrupted, but adjustable." Marla shot me a look over his head. "Fix this." I wanted to. God, I did. But doubt gnawed at me like damp rot in old beams. When the rush died down, I slipped into the back room, the tiny office stacked with invoices and bags of Ethiopian beans. My phone buzzed. "Jackson, check your email." Proof. I did, heart slamming against my ribs. There it was, forwarded from Mom's account, a thread starting 6 months ago. "Henry, we've heard great things about your shop from the neighborhood association. Liam frequents it. Yes, perhaps we could discuss support in exchange for guidance." Then Henry's reply, polite and clipped, "Appreciated." Details, followed by bank statements, $50,000 wired in installments, the last one dated yesterday. The room spun. Guidance? It was a bribe, plain and simple, to save me from myself, from Jackson, from the truth of who we were. I gripped the desk, bile rising. Henry had known all along, courted me under false pretenses, built this life on lies. But even as rage boiled, a sliver of pity pierced it. He was autistic, navigating a world that didn't accommodate his wiring. Was this his way of surviving, buying stability with our parents' blood money? "Liam," Henry's voice from the doorway, soft but probing. He stood there, arms crossed, a paper towel twisted in his fist, a shredding tick when stress peaked. I straightened, pocketing my phone. "Yeah. Just inventory." His brow furrowed, The telltale sign he was parsing my tone for inconsistencies. Your heart rate elevated. Voice pitch up 12%. Not inventory. Damn his hyper-awareness. It was one of the things that drew me in how he noticed the unnoticeable, like the way my laugh faltered around Jackson's name. It's nothing, I said, but the words cracked. He stepped closer, close enough I could smell the vanilla on his skin. Lies disrupt patterns. Bad for marriage. The irony stung. I wanted to confront him, hurl the emails like grenades, but the shop was still half full, Marla whistling tunelessly out front. Later, I muttered. After close. He nodded, retreating, but the damage was done. The hours dragged, every glance between us loaded with subtext. When we finally locked up at 8, the streetlights cast long shadows, and the air hummed with the post-rush quiet. Marla waved goodbye with a wink. Don't do anything I wouldn't, leaving us alone in the dim glow. Upstairs, the apartment felt claustrophobic, the walls closing in like judgmental whispers. Henry moved to the kitchen, pulling out ingredients for stir-fry, his go-to comfort meal. Rice measured in exact cups, veggies chopped into uniform squares. I watched from the doorway, arms folded, the email burning a hole in my pocket. You're quiet, he said, not looking up as he heated the wok. Sizzle of oil, garlic's sharp bite filling the air. Am I? I leaned against the frame, voice edged. Funny, considering what I just learned. He paused, spatula hovering. Learned about the money. Mom and Dad. The guidance. The word dripped venom. The spatula clattered to the counter. Henry's shoulders tensed, his back to me, and for a long moment, silence stretched taut as a wire. When he turned, his face was a mask, eyes distant, jaw set. Truth. Necessary. Necessary? I exploded, crossing the room in 2 strides. You took their bribe, married me to keep me away from Jackson. He flinched at the volume, hands flying up to cover his ears, a shutdown reflex. Not bribe. Investment. Shop needed capital. They offered. Conditions attached. Conditions? To fix me? Like I'm broken. Tears pricked hot, but I blinked them back. American stoicism, right? Suck it up. Move on. Henry lowered his hands slowly, forcing eye contact, the hardest part for him in conflict. Not broken. Different. Like me. They worried. About you. Him. Incest taboo. Social cost. The word incest landed like a slap. Raw and ugly. We'd never labeled it that. Jackson and I, just us. Inevitable as tides. But hearing it from Henry, clinical and factual, stripped it bare. And you? What did you get out of it? Besides the cash. His gaze dropped to the floor, tracing the tile grout like a lifeline. You. Liked you. From first coffee. Symmetrical. Kind. But alone. Scary. Marriage. Structure. Safety net. Pity warred with fury. Henry wasn't scheming. He was surviving, his autism turning vulnerability into transaction. In his world, emotions were equations, love a variable to balance. Did you ever love me? I whispered, hating the need in my voice. He looked up, eyes glistening, rare tears for him, each one a seismic event. Yes. Real. Beyond deal. Patterns shifted. For you, the fight drained out of me, leaving exhaustion in its wake. I sank onto a stool, head in hands. The wok smoked unattended, the scent turning acrid. Henry turned off the burner with mechanical calm, then knelt before me, hands on my knees, grounding touch, his therapy trick. "Forgive?" he asked, voice small. "Not yet," I admitted. "But, explain." "All of it," he did, haltingly, over cold stir-fry we picked at like strangers. The deal started innocently. Mom, volunteering at a community center, heard of Henry's shop through a flyer. She approached him about mentoring queer youth, code for straighten out my son. Henry, drowning in debt from renovations, agreed to vague terms. Then I walked in more often, post-breakup from my ex, Ryan, and Henry saw opportunity, not just financial, but personal. He confessed he'd fallen first, the money a means to an end. When Jackson's drama exploded, Mom upped the ante. Marry him, sever the tie. "It's wrong," I said, pushing away my plate. "All of it. But you could have told me." "Truth hurts," he replied simply. "Patterns break." We didn't make love that night. Instead, we slept back to back, the bed a chasm. Dreams haunted me. Jackson's lips on mine in the cabin, Henry's quiet vows echoing like accusations. Morning came too soon, the alarm a shrill intruder. Henry rose first, as always, but his routine faltered. He overbrewed the coffee, grounds spilling like dark blood. Down in the shop, the day unfolded in strained normalcy. Marla clocked the vibe immediately. "Rough night? You two look like you wrestled a bear." "Something like that," I muttered, grinding beans with unnecessary force. Henry avoided my eyes, focusing on the pour-overs with laser intensity. Customers noticed nothing. The barista with the steady hands, the husband charming the line, but I saw the cracks. His stimming fingers, the way he recounted change twice. By lunch, Jackson texted again, "Told you. Come home." To me. I deleted it, but the pull was magnetic. After the shop closed for a private event, a queer book club reading, I slipped out for a walk, needing air that didn't taste of betrayal. Capitol Hill thrummed with life. Street musicians strumming folk tunes, food trucks hawking tacos al pastor, couples hand in hand under umbrellas. I ended up at California Anderson Park, the fountain bubbling like suppressed sobs, ducks paddling in lazy circles. There, on a bench slick with mist, I let the tears come. For Jackson, the brother love twisted into longing. For Henry, the man who'd offered stability only to undermine it. For myself, the fool who'd thought marriage could rewrite fate. America promised reinvention, new cities, new starts, but blood and secrets clung like damp fog. My phone rang, unknown number. I answered, voice thick. "Yeah, Liam? It's Sarah, Jackson's ex." Her tone hesitant but kind. "He told me everything. About you two. And Henry. I'm worried." Sarah, surprise cut through the fog. She'd always been the steady one, a teacher with a laugh like wind chimes. Jackson's spiraling. Drinking, showing up at my door. He loves you, Liam, more than family. But this marriage, it's a bandage on a bullet wound. I sighed, watching a jogger splash through puddles. I know. But Henry's not the villain. He's complicated. Complicated how? She pressed gently. I spilled it all, the autism, the deal, the fragile love blooming despite the rot. She listened. No judgment. The way only exes can. Sounds like you need space, she said finally. From all of them. Come stay with me in Fremont. Clear your head. Tempting. But as I hung up, staring at the fountain spray, I realized space wasn't the answer. Truth was. Raw. Messy. American truth, the kind that built movements, toppled norms. Back at the shop, the book club was wrapping up, laughter spilling into the night. Henry stood at the counter, stacking chairs with geometric precision, his face lit by string lights like fireflies. Marla caught my eye, mouthing talk to him. I did, after the last guest left. Henry. We can't keep pretending. He set down a chair, slower than usual. Pretending bad. Real. Scary. Scary's okay, I said, stepping closer. But secrets? They kill. We talked then, really talked about his fears of abandonment, how the money was a safety net for the shop, for us, in case I bolted back to Jackson. About my terror of losing either the twin flame or the quiet hearth. No resolutions, just honesty, brittle as autumn leaves. That night, we made love differently, fiercer, with words woven in. I see you, I whispered against his throat. All of you. He clung to me, breaths ragged, his patterns fracturing into something wilder, freer. But dawn brought Jackson to the door again, eyes bloodshot, a bottle of bourbon dangling from his fist. Liam, he slurred, shoving past. End this charade. Henry froze behind the counter, but I stepped forward, blocking him. Not like this, Jack. Go home. He laughed, wild. Home? With you gone, marrying this fixer. Henry's voice cut through, steady as steel. Not fixer. Friend. Lover. Now husband. Jackson whirled, sizing him up, the autistic barista versus the golden twin. You think you know him? His secrets? The things we've done? Know enough, Henry replied, unflinching. Love enough. The air crackled. 3 men in a triangle of pain and possession. Jackson lunged, not at Henry, but me, pulling me into a desperate kiss that tasted of whiskey and what-ifs. I froze, then pushed away, the world tilting. Stop, I gasped. This ends tonight. Jackson staggered back, face crumpling. You choose him. I looked at Henry, his eyes pleading, then at my brother, broken mirror of myself. I choose me. Finally, he left then, slamming the door, the bell tolling like a funeral knell. Henry and I stood in the wreckage, hands finding each other in the dark. The days following Jackson's meltdown blurred into a fragile truce, the coffee shop our bunker against the storm. Seattle's November chill settled in earnest, winds whipping off the sound, turning Broadway into a gauntlet of huddled pedestrians and steaming food carts. Inside been there, done that, the air stayed warm, thick with the perfume of roasted hazelnut and the low murmur of regulars nursing their lattes like lifelines. Henry and I moved around each other with cautious grace, rebuilding brick by brick, shared glances over the espresso bar, fingers brushing during pastry handoffs, quiet evenings where we'd dissect podcasts on quantum entanglement or the ethics of AI love. But Jackson's shadow loomed. Texts came sporadically, apologies laced with pleas. I miss you. This isn't over. Mom called once, voice syrupy with feigned concern. Darling, marriage is work. But Henry's. Well, is he right for you? I hung up mid-sentence, blocking the number. Dad's silence was louder, a tacit disapproval echoing their old-school values. Family first, appearances forever. Henry noticed, of course. During a slow afternoon, as rain pattered the windows like impatient fingers, he slid a fresh pour-over across the counter. Cordidu. For grounding, I sipped, the bitterness grounding me. Thanks. And for standing up to him. Last night, he shrugged, polishing a glass with ritual focus. Truth. Patterns include protection. Protection. That's what he'd always offered. Even in deception, the money a warped shield against our family's judgment. We'd burned the check stubs in the shop's tiny fireplace that weekend, ashes swirling up the flue like exorcised demons. No more secrets, I'd said, and he agreed, his hand in mine a vow more binding than any courthouse paper. Marla, ever the oracle, pulled me aside during her break. Kid, you look like you haven't slept since the elopement. Spill. We sat in the back, sharing a pilfered scone. I told her everything. The twin love, the bribe, the kiss in the rain of bourbon breath. She listened, chain-smoking menthols out the alley door, exhaling wisdom with each puff. Family's a bitch, ain't it? Mine disowned me for going full drag in '98. But Henry, that man's got a heart bigger than his beanbags. Don't let ghosts steal your now. Her words stuck, a talisman against doubt. That evening, after close, Henry and I walked to the market, his idea, a routine expansion. Capitol Hill's weekend vibe pulsed. Street artists chalking murals of queer icons, food trucks blasting reggaeton, couples twirling under cafe lights. He held my hand loosely at first, then tighter, his palm warm against the cold. At the Pike Place stalls, we wandered like tourists, sampling salmon jerky, watching fishmongers hurl cod like Olympians. Henry fixated on the flower vendors, their bouquets a riot of color against the gray. Symmetry, he murmured, pointing to a bundle of dahlias, petals mirroring in perfect halves. Like us, I teased, buying the bunch on impulse. He took them, burying his nose in the blooms, eyes closing in bliss. Better. Resilient. Back home, over a dinner of market-fresh pasta. His recipe, al dente to the second, we talked futures. Not grand plans, but small ones. Expanding the shop's menu with gluten-free options for his sensory-sensitive friends. Me pitching designs to bigger labels. And Jackson? Henry asked, twirling linguine precisely. I paused. Fork midway. Space. Therapy. Maybe. For both of us. He nodded. No jealousy. Just understanding. Healing patterns. Long arc. That night. Love came easy, slow explorations under the duvet. His body a map I'd memorized but still discovered anew. He whispered facts between kisses. Did you know oxytocin peaks in touch like this? Bonds us. Scientific romance. Pure Henry. Monday brought the first real test. The shop's rent was due, and the wire from Mom final installment hit the account. Henry stared at the notification on his laptop, face paling. Tainted. Burn it, I said. Or donate. To a shelter. For queer kids. He did. Fingers flying over keys. $10,000 to the Lambert House. A drop-in center for LGBTQ plus youth. Clean now, he declared, closing the lid with finality. Pride swelled, but so did unease. Jackson showed up unannounced that afternoon, sober but hollow-eyed, nursing a black eye from God knows what bar fight. The shop was empty, Thank Christ. Marla off for a dentist run. He slid onto a stool. Voice rough. Coffee. Strong. Henry poured without comment, sliding it over with a side of creamers arranged in a perfect row. Jackson ignored them. Eyes on me. Heard you blocked Mom. Good. She's losing it. Praying for your salvation. I leaned on the counter, arms crossed. And you? Salvation look like? He winced, stirring sugar absently. Therapy. AA meetings. Sarah's been helpful. But I can't stop thinking about you. Us. Henry busied himself in the back. But I knew he heard every word, his auditory processing a sponge. That's the problem, Jack. Us was always half a story. I love you as family. The rest? It's poison. Liar. He leaned in, voice dropping. That kiss was goodbye. Henry's return cut him off, a tray of fresh croissants in hand. He set them down gently, positioning himself between us like a quiet sentinel. Jackson eyed him, then laughed softly, resigned. You're good for him, coffee boy. Steady. Me? I'm the hurricane. Storms pass, Henry said simply. No malice. Roots remain. Jackson drained his cup, tossing a 10 on the counter. Take care of him, or I'll haunt you both. He clapped my shoulder, brotherly, finally, and left, the door chiming softly behind. Henry exhaled, long and slow. Hurricane. Accurate metaphor. I pulled him into a hug, inhaling his scent. But you're the calm. Word spread in our little ecosystem. Marla toasted the truce with spiked chai. Customers whispered about the Hot Twins drama, like it was a soap opera. Business boomed. Queer Seattle loved a redemption arc. I redesigned the shop's logo on a whim. 2 interlocking coffee cups. One bold, one subtle, forming a heart. Henry approved with a rare grin. Inclusive asymmetry, but cracks persisted. Nightmares woke me. Visions of Jackson drowning in the sound. Henry counting beans into infinity. Henry had his shutdowns too, retreating to the rooftop with noise-canceling headphones, staring at the stars until patterns realigned. We'd emerge, cling closer, but the betrayal's echo lingered, a low hum beneath our harmony. Thanksgiving loomed, a minefield. Our parents insisted traditional turkey in Tacoma, complete with aunts and cousins spouting Fox News soundbites. Bring Henry, Mom cooed over voicemail. Show us you're happy. Henry vetoed it flat. Sensory overload. Political triggers. No, I agreed, countering with a friendsgiving at the shop. Potluck with Marla's mac and cheese. Sarah's pumpkin pie, she RSVP'd yes. Single and sparkling. Even a few shop regulars. Jackson declined, too soon, but sent a gift. A vintage vinyl of the Smiths' The Queen is Dead. Note inside, for the broken crowns. Love, your twin. The night was magic. Tables groaning under dishes. Fairy lights twinkling. A playlist of queer anthems thumping low. Henry thrived. His routines amplified by community. Carving the tofurkey with surgical precision. Reciting turkey facts. Native to Mexico. Not America. Irony. Sarah cornered me by the dessert spread. He's smitten. And you? Glowing. Scared shitless? I admitted. Slicing pie. But yeah. Glowing. As plates cleared, Henry stood, clinking a mug for attention, a big gesture for him. Gratitude. For patterns shared. Liam. Anchor. He sat quick, flushed, But applause erupted, Marla Wolf whistling. Later, under the shop's awning, snow flurrying for the first time, kissed him deep. "Love you," I murmured, meaning it bone deep. "Love," he echoed, snowflakes melting on his lashes. Constant, but constancy cracked 2 nights later. A knock at midnight, Jackson, soaked and shivering, eyes wild. "Dad's dying," he gasped. "Heart attack." "Come home." The world tilted. Henry drove, white-knuckled on the wheel, the I-5 a black ribbon under sodium lights. Tacoma's hospital glowed sterile, Mom pacing the ER waiting room in pearls and panic. "Boys," she cried, pulling us into a Chanel-scented hug. Thank God. Dad lay in ICU, tubes snaking like accusations, monitors beeping a dirge. Jackson sat vigil, hand in Dad's frail one, our twin bond a lifeline across the bed. Henry hovered in the doorway, out of place amid the beeps and bleach, but when I glanced back, he nodded go. Hours blurred, doctors murmuring stable but critical, Mom reciting rosaries, Jackson and I trading stories of Dad's stoic love, teaching us to fish at dawn, cheering our little league strikes. Dawn broke gray, Dad stirring with a weak smile. "My boys." Together, Henry slipped in then, offering coffee from the vending machine black for Dad, who took it with a nod. "Good man," he rasped to me. Steady, we stayed through the morning, family mending in fragments. But in the cafeteria, Mom cornered Henry. "The money. It was for the best, wasn't it? Keeping things proper." He met her gaze, unflinching. "Best? No. Necessary? Once. Now, irrelevant." She flushed, but Jackson, overhearing, squeezed my shoulder. "Let it go, Mom. They're happy." Discharge came by noon. Dad wheeled out to a waiting car. We drove back in convoy, Henry and I trailing Jackson's truck. "That was brave," I said, hand on his thigh. "Family patterns," he replied. "Complicated. But worth." Home. We collapsed into bed, bodies entwining in exhaustion-born tenderness. But as sleep tugged, my phone buzzed, anonymous email, photos of Henry and Mom, months old, her handing over an envelope in the shop's back alley. "He's still playing you," the note read. "For more." Betrayal. Round 2. Heart hammering, I showed Henry. His face drained of color. "Not playing. Leverage. For Dad's care." He asked, "Off books." The truth layered like Seattle's endless rain. Mom's payments hadn't stopped. They'd morphed, funding Dad's secret prostate treatments, pride too stiff for insurance claims. Henry, ever the fixer, had shouldered it silently. "Why hide?" I demanded, voice breaking. "Fear. Of losing pattern." "You," we cried then, him rare and wrenching, me furious and relieved. No more veils. Just us, raw and real. December descended on Seattle like a velvet shroud, Christmas lights twinkling defiantly against the perpetual dusk, evergreen boughs scenting the air with pine and possibility. The shop decked itself out, Henry's doing, garlands woven with coffee bean strings, a tree in the corner strung with mug ornaments, carols remixed with queer icons like RuPaul crooning Jingle Bells in falsetto. Business surged, holiday rushes turning the counter into a whirlwind of gingerbread lattes and gift cards. Amid the chaos, our marriage deepened. Stolen kisses in the stockroom, his hand in mine during walks to the Elliott Bay Book Company, where we'd lose hours in the LGBTQ plus section, fingers tracing spines of stories like ours, messy, triumphant. But the email's shadow lingered, a specter Mom had unwittingly summoned. We'd confronted her over a tense Zoom, Dad recovering at home, Jackson mediating with weary diplomacy. It was for his health, she sobbed, pearls clicking like rosary beads. Henry understood. No harm. Harm, I snapped, Henry's grip tightening on my knee off-screen. You bought my life. Twice. She'd apologized, haltingly, old money guilt cracking her facade. I just wanted normal. For you boys, Jackson, muted till then, unmuted. Normal's overrated. Mom. Let them be. The call ended in uneasy peace. Therapy referrals exchanged like white flags. Jackson started sessions too. Virtual meets with a counselor specializing in twin dynamics. Our talks shifted. Less fire, more embers. Sharing memes about twin telepathy fails. Him gushing over a new coaching gig at a Tacoma high school. I'm trying. Liam. For us, all of us. Henry watched these evolutions with quiet fascination. Journaling patterns in a notebook. Jackson. Chaos vector decreasing 15% weekly. It humanized him, made the betrayal feel like a misstep in a larger dance. New Year's Eve loomed, the city gearing up for fireworks over the sound. We hosted a bash at the shop, Marla DJing. Sarah bartending spiked eggnog, regulars toasting with champagne flutes filled from the espresso taps. Henry, overwhelmed by the crowd, retreated to the rooftop mid-party. But I found him there, bundled in a scarf, staring at the Ferris wheels glow across the water. Too much, I asked, settling beside him on the damp bench. Threshold hit, he admitted, but smiled faintly. You, anchor. We rang in the year, kissing under exploding skies, colors blooming like bruises healing. Resolutions whispered. More honesty, more adventure, a road trip down the Oregon coast come spring. But climax brewed in the mundane. A slow Tuesday, Valentine's early buzz with heart-shaped pastries. Jackson texted, surprise visit. Peace offering. He arrived at noon, arms laden with a cooler, crab legs from Pike Place, our childhood fave. Truce dinner? He grinned, all boyish charm. Henry eyed the cooler warily but nodded. Allergic. Shellfish. But appreciate. Jackson deflated slightly, but rallied. Veggie sushi then. For the win. We closed early. The three of us crammed in the apartment. Awkward at first. Stilted small talk over takeout. Jackson regaled us with coaching tales. This kid, total prodigy, reminds me of us. Liam, dodging Dad's curveballs. Laughter flowed. Wine loosening tongues. Henry, relaxed by the low stakes. Shared shop quirks. Customer today, ordered quantum mocha. Improvised. Espresso. Uncertainty principle of foam. Jackson howled, slapping the table. As plates cleared, the air shifted, charged, like pre-storm static. Jackson poured refills, eyes lingering on me too long. Remember the cabin? That summer storm? We swore we'd always. Stop. Henry's voice, sharp as shattered glass. He stood, chair scraping. Boundaries. Jackson blinked, wine sloshing. What? Just reminiscing. Reminiscing weapon, Henry countered, unflinching. Triggers relapse. For him. Us. The room iced. Jackson's face hardened, the golden twin cracking. You don't get to police this, Barista. You're the interloper here. Interloper. Henry laughed. Bitter, rare for him. Saved shop. Saved him. From you. Jackson surged up, knocking his glass. Red wine spiderwebbed the floor. Saved? You bought him. With Mom's dirty money. I jumped between them, palms out. Enough. Both of you, my husband, my brother. This ends now. But it didn't. Jackson whirled on me, eyes blazing. Husband? He's a placeholder. Liam, a safe bet because you can't admit you want this. He grabbed my shirt, yanking me close, lips crashing against mine in a kiss that scorched. Familiar, forbidden, everything we'd buried. I shoved him back, gasping, the taste of betrayal metallic. Henry stood frozen, face ashen, then bolted down the stairs, out the door into the night. Henry, I yelled, chasing after, Jackson's curses echoing behind. The street was a blur of neon and traffic, taillights streaking red. I spotted him 2 blocks down, hunched against a bus shelter, rocking slightly, meltdown mode, the world too loud, too fractured. Henry, wait. He looked up, eyes shattered prisms. Pattern broken. Irreparable. No. I knelt, ignoring the puddle soaking my jeans. Reparable. With time. Time? While words failed, his hands flapping in distress. I pulled him into my arms, rocking with him as sobs racked his frame. Deep, guttural, the dam of his composure bursting. Passers-by stared, but Seattle's queer heart understood. 2 men clinging in the cold, mending what family tore. Jackson caught up, panting. Shit. Henry, man, I'm sorry. Henry lifted his head, wiping snot with his sleeve. Unguarded. Raw. Sorry, insufficient. Trust eroded. Jackson nodded, deflating. Yeah. I fucked up. Again. He backed away, hands raised. I'll go. Therapy tomorrow. Promise. We watched him vanish into the night, a silhouette swallowed by fog. Henry and I sat there long after, breaths sinking, the city a distant hum. Choose, Henry whispered finally. Me or Echo? You, I said, fierce. Always you. Back home. We cleaned the wine stain in silence, vinegar and salt, his recipe for stains literal and figurative. Bed was a sanctuary, bodies pressing close, apologies murmured in skin. But sleep evaded. Dawn found us staring at the ceiling, the confrontation's aftershocks trembling. The next week was reconstruction. Henry in hyperfocus, redesigning the shop's layout for better flow, stability zones. I dove into work, landing a freelance gig illustrating a queer graphic novel. Heroes with autistic superpowers, mirrors of us. Jackson checked in daily, texts evolving. Session was brutal. Miss you, bro. No kisses, just kinship. Yet the betrayal's core festered. Jackson's kiss a litmus test, exposing fractures. Mom called, contrite, counseling. For me too, progress, glacial. Valentines arrived amid melting snow, the shop a sea of red balloons and love notes in latte art. Henry surprised me with a custom blend. Liam's anchor, notes of chocolate and courage. For us, he said. Shy. We celebrated quietly. Dinner at a hole-in-the-wall Italian joint, then home for slow, reaffirming sex that blurred edges. Bodies a language beyond words. But climax crested that night. A package waited on the stoop. From Jackson, a leather-bound journal, pages filled with his scrawl letters to me, unsent, chronicling his love's evolution from brotherly to obsessive. Then release. I hid the truth too. The final entry read, about Dad's will. He left everything split, but with a codicil, disinherit if you don't settle down. Henry knew. Took the hit to protect your share. Another layer peeled. Henry confessed over morning coffee. Jackson had told him months ago, during a bro meet at the shop. Leverage, Henry called it, using the knowledge to deepen our bond, shielding me from family greed. Why? I demanded, journal trembling in my hands. Love, he said simply. Not hiding. Protecting. Rage boiled. Not at him, but the web, family machinations, twin temptations, a marriage forged in fire. I stormed out, driving to Tacoma unannounced, pounding on Jackson's door. He answered bleary-eyed, post-shift. Liam, the will. You let him carry that? Alone? He pulled me inside. Apartment sparse, boxing gloves on hooks, therapy books stacked. I tried to tell you, but you were happy. Finally, happy built on lies. We argued, voices rising, him defending his silence as mercy, me hurling accusations of sabotage. Fists clenched, but no blows, instead, collapse onto the couch, tears shared like communion. You're my brother, he sobbed. I want you whole. And Henry? He's my whole. Truce. Again hugs, not kisses. Back in Seattle, I confronted Henry in the shop's back room, amid sacks of Sumatran dark roast. No more protectors. Partners. Equals. He nodded, tears tracking. Equals. Promise. That night, under a canopy of stars visible through the rooftop haze, we renewed vows, informal, heartfelt. I choose your truths, your patterns, your chaos. Fireworks from a distant party echoed our spark. But betrayal's final twist waited in the wings. Mom's gift. A check for the shop's expansion, laced with strings. Sign the prenup. Protect the family. Climax. I tore it up in her face, at a mediated family dinner. We're family. No transactions. Dad, frail but fierce, nodded approval. Jackson raised a glass. To truths. Henry squeezed my hand under the table. Love, unhidden. Spring unfurled in Seattle like a hesitant confession. Cherry blossoms dusting the streets in pink confetti, the sound sparkling under tentative sun. The shop thrived. Liam's Anchor Blend a bestseller, drawing lines of couples seeking its love in a cup magic. Henry and I settled into a rhythm uniquely ours. Morning runs along the waterfront, where he'd chart title patterns while I sketched album covers in my notebook. Evenings coding playlists, his algorithms blending my indie rock with ambient electronica. Therapy wove through couple sessions with a queer-affirming counselor named Theo, who unpacked our layers without judgment. Henry's masking fatigue, my twin tether guilt, the betrayal's scar tissue turning supple with time. Jackson visited weekly now. Sans drama. Sundays for board games at the shop. Him trouncing us at Settlers of Catan with ruthless trades. See? I'm civilized. He'd quip, but his eyes held new depth. Therapy's polish on rough edges. Sarah joined sometimes. Her presence a bridge. Flirty banter with Marla. Quiet talks with Henry about neurodiverse parenting dreams. Family redefined. Not blood but chosen. The American ideal we'd clawed toward. Mom and Dad softened too. Tentative emails from Mom. Proud of your art show next month? Dad's first visit to the shop. Sipping a decaf with gruff approval. Solid brew. Like you boys. No more codicils. His revised will equal and unencumbered. A quiet atonement. Yet humanism's core pulsed in the small salvations. One rainy April afternoon. A kid, 17. Rainbow pin on his backpack. Slumped at the counter. Eyes red from a fight with conservative folks. Henry spotted it, sliding over a hot chocolate with marshmallows aligned in a smiley face. Patterns help. What's yours? The kid? Alex. He said, spilled, coming out. Rejection. Couchsurfing dreams. Henry listened. No fidget. Then, shop policy. Free refills for stories. I joined, sharing my twin tangle. By closing, Alex had a job shadow offer and Theo's card. Word spread, been there as haven. We hosted queer youth nights, art jams, drag story hours. Henry's physics talks twisted into allyship metaphors. Gravity pulls, but choice orbits. Marla emceed, her sass a shield. Jackson volunteered security, his bulk a gentle deterrent. Our first anniversary hit in May, courthouse vows a year old. No elopement rush now, we threw a proper party. Rooftop under string lights, guests from our patchwork tribe. Jackson toasted first, to Liam and Henry, proof love ain't linear. This looped, messy, ours. Mom teared up, Dad clapped Henry's back. Good man, Henry's gift to me. A custom star map of our wedding night, framed with coordinates. Constellation us, mine to him, a sensory kit, weighted blanket, essential oils for shutdown days, plus a ring upgrade, engraved equals. Love that night was transcendent, slow, sacred, bodies a dialogue of forgiveness. Afterward, tangled and sated, he traced my twin birthmark, faint on my hip. Scars. Beautiful. Yours too, I murmured, kissing his temple. Summer beckoned with promise. A coastal drive in the Subaru, windows down, Henry's hand in mine as waves crashed at Cannon Beach. We hiked Ecola State Park, him geeking on tide pools. See the anemones? Symbiotic. Like us. Me photographing his wonder. Campfire nights. Esmores and stories. His childhood in rural Oregon. Masking meltdowns at school. My Tacoma tomboy crushes. Jackson's unwitting wingman. Betrayal's ghost. Exorcised. Not forgotten. A teacher. Hardening resolve. Jackson found love too. A barista from Tacoma. Ironic echo. Steady and straight shooting. Your fault, he joked at our group barbecue. Raised the bar. Fall circled back. Leaves aflame. The shop's second anniversary blend launching to cheers. One crisp October eve. As rain resumed its Seattle symphony, Henry pulled me to the counter post-close. Truth time. I arched a brow. No more skeletons? He smiled, sliding over a positive pregnancy test. Wait. No, adoption papers. For a foster kid from Lambert House. Alex's little brother. Neurodiverse like Henry. Family. Our pattern. Tears pricked. Yes. God. Yes. Humanistic close. Not fairy tale perfect, but profoundly real. America's grit in our veins. Queer resilience. Familial fractures mended with grit and grace. Jackson walked me down an impromptu, vow renewal aisle at the park. Henry waiting under blossoms. Eyes alight. We'd chosen each other not instead of, but because of, the twins' fire forging our steel. Betrayals birthing unbreakable trust. In the end, love wasn't hiding truths. It was bearing them, building from the bones. And as fireworks, real ones, for pride, lit the sky that night, Henry whispered, "Epic. Interstellar," I replied. Together, orbiting eternal.